"No," said the girl. "We're not going around. We're not going back." The river wasn't the end. The river was a threshold. The only place where everything she carried could become something different. Not disappear, but change. You can't take off the corset, but in water it softens. The river wasn't magical, ordinary, dark, wide. You can't jump over it. You can't go around it. You can't see the bottom. Her body remembered water. Once she had been thrown into water and told, "I'll teach you to swim." She hadn't known how. She sank. Someone who could have helped was standing nearby and didn't help. "We can stay here," said the fox. "It's safe here. We know the rules. We know how to survive here." Pause. But living is on the other side. She stepped in first, not because she wasn't afraid, because she no longer waited for the moment when she wouldn't be afraid. The water was cold, ankle deep, knee deep, waist deep. Her body screamed, "Back!" Control, scanned. The perfectionist cried, "There's no plan." Her feet cramped. She walked, and with every step, the corset loosened. That invisible corset that had compressed the space from the very first minute. In the water, it was softening. Not coming off, softening. The bands that held her ribs, that hadn't allowed her to breathe fully, water got between them and her body, and they, just slightly, eased away. And there was more air, for the first time, more. The hair stepped in second, trembling, but it stepped in with fear, not without it, with it. The fox in third, without going around, for the first time, directly. The kitten, fourth. It hissed at the water. The water didn't react. It stepped in, wet, angry, but it stepped in. The little frozen one tissue in her arms, transparent, her arms wrapped around the girl's neck, and for the first time, tightly. In the middle, at the deepest point, the girl stumbled. The current pushed. Her feet lost the bottom. Her body went underwater. Everyone froze. She was drowning. Her body remembered once she had been thrown into water and no one had helped. But now she stretched her arm out, upward, out of the water, and grabbed her own hair and pulled upward herself, by the hair, out of the water. Impossible. But when there's no one else, possible. Her head surfaced, a breath. Her feet found the bottom. She stood, wet, gasping, alive. "I pulled myself out," she whispered. "Myself." Not a branch breaking, not someone waking up in time, not someone grabbing the knife. She, herself. For the first time, Sanaa, it wasn't chance that saved her. She. They stood on the other bank. Wet, tired, all of them. Nothing had changed on the outside, but something had changed. Not in the world, in them. On the other bank, the parts were the same, but their names were different. The hare stood and wasn't running. "I still hear everything, but now I hear other things too, rustling. A bird, breathing. Not only danger, my fear became hearing." The fox stood without a mask. "I can still go around, but now I can also go straight. My cunning became intelligence." The kitten sat next to a panther, who had appeared on the other bank, calm, black, with yellow eyes. It had been waiting for them here. I can still bite, but now it's called a boundary. I can say no, and that's not an attack. The perfectionist stood for the first time without a plan. I can still do things, but now that's a tool, not all of me. Control stood, for the first time not compressing the space around it, simply holding form, like banks holding a river, not stopping the water. I still watch, but now that's structure, not a prison. The critic stood, how wet, silent. The words had lost their venom in the river. I still see mistakes, but now that's attention, not a verdict. The capitulant stood. For the first time, wasn't sitting. The water had washed away, not the fatigue, the hopelessness. The glutton stood with empty hands and an empty mouth, and for the first time felt real hunger. Not the kind you feel with anything at all, but the kind that says, I want to live. The frozen one. All the frost had darkened, as if beneath every crystal there was water, which wasn't yet flowing, but was. The phoenix sat quiet, feathers warm, like embers, like a hearth. The Iron Man stood, the armor the same, but the crack on the chest had become wider. From it, warmth, barely noticeable, as if something inside was thawing. The blind one, for the first time, opened one eye just slightly. The light was bright, painful. She squeezed it shut, but for a moment she saw and wept, not from pain, because the world existed and it wasn't only horror. And then, from the silence, the little one spoke, for the first time in the whole journey, not in a whisper, with a voice, thin but audible. Why do you want to kill me? Everyone froze. The girl, the one who had carried the little one across the river, stopped. The question landed not in her head, in her body. I don't want to kill you, she said. You do, said the little one. Every time the voice from the chest comes, you want to. Every time there's despair, you want me not to exist, because I'm the part that hurts. If I didn't feel, it wouldn't hurt. If I didn't exist, you wouldn't suffer. Silence, enormous, a stone in the throat, heat in the eyes. For several years, let the little one continued, you said the right words to me. I'm with you. You're not alone. I'll always be here. But inside there was a condition. I heard it. I'm with you. If you become calmer. If you stop wanting to die. If you stop being like this. And I stayed silent. Because when someone accepts you with conditions, there's no trust. And without trust, there's no dialogue. The girl sat down on the ground, slowly, took the little one's hands in hers. You're right, she said. I wanted to fix you, correct you, make you normal. I had a list, long, detailed, of what needed to be changed in you, and for 20 years I worked through it. Pause. But you won't change. There won't be a different brain. There won't be a different body. There won't be a different nervous system. You are like this. I don't care, said the girl, and her voice wavered. I'll be with you until the end of my days, no matter what. Just like this, exactly as you are. The little one didn't smile, didn't cry. She did something she had never done in the whole journey, never in her whole life. She hugged. With small, transparent arms, she wrapped them around the girl's neck and pressed close, and became just slightly more solid, just slightly, here. Not a technique, not a method, simply staying. stopping fixing and being alongside. On the other bank, between the roots of an old tree, sat a cat, real, alive, with black fur, with green eyes, thin, wary. She looked at the girl, with the look cats use for those they have chosen. The girl approached, crouched down. The cat didn't step back, didn't hiss, simply waited. "You're not a part," said the girl. "You're real." The cat stretched, moved closer, lay down on the left shoulder, there, where the biggest tension was, as if it knew. Warm, alive, purring. This was a bridge between the forest and life, between symbol and reality. A cat that you learn to love, with a kind voice, with gentle hands, not pushing away when it bites, not abandoning when it hisses. And through that, you learn to treat yourself the same way. And then, for the first time, she heard another voice. Not from the chest where the dark, heavy one lived, from somewhere deeper, from that place where a breath had reached the bottom. The voice was quiet, very quiet, so quiet it could only be heard in silence, not in emptiness, but in real silence, the kind that comes when all the parts fall quiet for at least a moment. Little son. One word that had never been said in her whole life. "Little son," the voice repeated, "you're good. Not because of the gold medals, not because you're useful. You are good, just like that, simply because you are you." The voice didn't disappear. It was weak, newborn, like a sprout through asphalt. It needed to be grown every day, every morning. But it was, for the first time, was. The little one, the one in her arms, raised her head, and for the first time smiled. Real, small, a child's smile. At the roots of the tree next to the cat lay an object. A teapot, small, broken, reassembled, but not the way you reassemble things to hide the breakage. The opposite. The cracks had been filled with gold, every fracture invisible, every shard in place, but between them, golden lines like rivers on a map, like veins, like the roots of a tree. She picked it up, heavy, warm. "Is this me?" she asked. Not someone. The forest, the air, herself. Broken doesn't mean destroyed. Repaired doesn't mean weak. The gold lines aren't camouflage, they're history. Every crack, a blow that didn't kill. Every shard, a part that survived. Every golden river between them, what she uses to connect them. She set the teapot on the ground, next to the cat, next to the tree. It stood, and it was small, golden with all its cracks, and you could brew real tea in it, real, hot. The panther lay on a stone, warm, flat, in the middle of a clearing. Everyone stood around. "You know all of them," said the girl. "I am all of them," said the panther. The kitten grew up. Rage became strength. Fear became hearing. Cunning became wisdom. Freezing became stillness. Perfectionism became mastery. Control became structure. The critic became attention. Capitulation became acceptance. Hunger became a taste for life. Iron became softer in the water. I remember the cellars. Remember the frost. Remember the curse. Remember the knife. And I remember the river. "Will we all become you?" asked the kitten. "No, you'll remain yourselves, but I'm what happens when you stop fighting each other." "Not assembled," said the girl. not repaired, simply unseen. She sat by the stone, back against the warmth, feet on the grass, palms upward. The grayness above had become thinner, like paper through which light shows, not yet light, but its promise. She took a breath. Deep, the first real breath that passed not only through the chest, but further, there, where the belly is, where the pelvis is, where what was closed, compressed, hidden. The ribs released, the air reached the very bottom and found there, not emptiness, something soft, warm, alive, what had always been there, but what she hadn't felt. Though inside, all this time, it had been. She exhaled, and together with the exhalation, water came from her eyes, warm, salty. The water flowed. She didn't stop it, wasn't ashamed. She sat on the ground. The ground held her. The stone warmed her back. The panther breathed alongside. The knife not on that bank. The river behind. The cage unlatched. The corset loosened. The curse ye left at the stone. All the part and alongside. The forest the same, but now it wasn't a battlefield, not a cage. This one was an ecosystem, living, working, imperfect, with fear that became hearing, with cunning that became intelligence, with rage that became a boundary, with control that became a foundation. Integration, not when all the parts disappear, when they stop fighting. She didn't say, "We are healed." She simply stayed. Somewhere above, the grayness had become very thin, like paper on which someone will write later something. Maybe it's possible without sacrifice. Maybe my fear is not a prophecy. Maybe the kitten needs to be taken care of. And she remembered 3 names. They had always been nearby. She simply hadn't heard them. The one who had given birth to her was called Love. She didn't give what the name promised. The one who had raised her was called Hope. She cursed instead of hoping, and she herself was named Faith. Faith, hope, love. 3 names, 3 words that hadn't been given to her. 3 qualities that needed not to be found, but to be grown from nothing. The way the kind voice appears in the silence when all the other voices fall quiet. Faith in herself, not in a plan, not in a method, not in yet another savior, in herself. Hope, not blind, not phoenix-like, not the kind that burns and burns out, quiet like embers, like a hearth. Love, not the kind you need to earn with gold medals, the kind that is inside, was always there, infinite and eternal, the kind that the little girl waited for at a closed door, and which all this time was not behind the door but inside her. You are here. And that for now is enough.